talk to you.
Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. The podcast that you know.
Oh, we are live! It feels so good. The NBA is back. Deuce Mason alongside Morgan Reagan. How you doing, Mo?
Oh, asking me, I'm great. I love NBA. I love NBA basketball. I'm just glad it's back.
We had 2 games tonight.
I know. Well, and I love that I say I'm so glad it's back, even though we're discussing and we were watching preseason basketball like it was regular season, and the start of the game that we just watched anyway was sloppier than shit. So I was like, is this preseason basketball? And then it turned out being better. So yeah, just glad it's back. Excited for this whole week. Let's go.
Well, we are recording this at almost 10 o'clock Pacific time following the conclusion of the Suns-Warriors game from San Francisco. We're going to talk about the doubleheader from today, and then we're going to look ahead to Kings-Jazz, the Sacramento Kings opener. We were at Kings practice today. Had some interesting stuff from Michael Malone.
Ugh.
And by Michael Malone, I'm Mike Brown.
Good job.
Yeah.
Words can be hard.
They can be tricky sometimes. We did see Michael Malone get his ring tonight, though. And that was cool to see.
I know. It was great. And everyone in the crowd chanting, "Who's your daddy?"
Yes.
That was great. Yeah, I know we'll get to that game.
Well, let's start with what we just witnessed. Suns beat the Warriors tonight at Chase Center, 108-104. No Bradley Beal in this game. Of course, no Draymond Green. It was our first chance to see Chris Paul with the Golden State Warriors. It was our first chance to see Kevin Durant return back to San Francisco to play a game, which is insane. Okay, first things first.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Warriors fans some credit tonight.
Wow.
They didn't play any games, maybe because it's been so long. That's why they've won a championship without him. They gave him a standing ovation. And that's what they should have done. Give him the standing ovation.
Good job, Warriors fans. You gave him exactly what he deserved. No, that was great to see. I think you pointed out, too, even in the beginning of that game, it's like some little kid was at the scores table going, Kevin Durant. And like to give him a fist pound, and he gave him fist pound. It's like, kid, the game has started. But still, it was really nice. Seemed like it was just a nice welcome back for Kevin Durant, but it didn't do him any favors. Ew.
I love the fact that we can sit here after tonight and people want to make bold proclamations.
Oh, yes.
Charles Barkley at halftime of this game was saying that the Warriors are cooked. And he could be right. But if you're just basing on what we saw tonight, I still want to see what this Golden State team looks like with Draymond Green back in the fold. I think he's a pretty important part to what they're trying to do. I don't know. Kind of crazy to me. I'd rather have him be out there so I can evaluate instead of him like doing an interview during the game. So it's tough to tell what things could look like. There are some things tonight from Golden State's perspective, though, that some things that should pop up on your radar if you're a Warriors fan.
Popped up on your red flag radar.
Just Klay Thompson. He didn't have a great preseason. That's fine.
Yeah.
What's that matter? He didn't have a good game. He was 6 of 18, and I just feel like those nights happen more often than ever for him. And I just look at what the Warriors are trying to do with this team, and this is what you're betting on. You're betting on, hey, Klay's going to have this big year. Wiggins is going to be healthy. Andrew Wiggins didn't even finish this game for them. He was not in that closing lineup. They had Paul out there with Steph, Klay, Kuminga, and Looney.
And Steve Kerr, I didn't know why he went that direction, but I thought maybe, you pointed this out, he had 1 rebound the whole game, and I think it was telling to how his game was going and how he wasn't giving what they needed in other places. And yeah, so going with Kuminga, giving him the opportunity, I was also thinking maybe that was my other theory, was like, oh, well, maybe he just wants him to have these big moments right now. Well, it's still early in the season.
When he came back in, he was better. He had that first 5-minute stint.
Kuminga, you're talking about. Yeah.
When he had that 5-minute stint tonight, he had 3 fouls in 5 minutes, blowing defensive coverages, just looked chaotic. And that's part of his game, is like a little chaos that comes with Jonathan Kuminga. He's still young, though, and I think those were meaningful minutes for him at the end of the game.
Agreed.
And just look at the Warriors' big picture. You're going, wow, Curry's going to have some interesting things to figure out at the end of games with Chris Paul in this on this team, and of course Draymond Green too.
I mean, look what he even did on that final possession for the Phoenix Suns.
Oh, yeah.
That final defensive possession. Obviously, he takes Steph Curry out. He goes, okay, we want, bigger lineup, more defenders, whatever in there. And the Suns still did a fantastic job of breaking it down. The Suns being Devin Booker, who did everything tonight. There's other guys that we'll definitely talk about with the Suns. But yeah, Devin Booker just broke the defense down, made the right play, made the right plays throughout this entire game, but got that too to really close out this game.
Yeah, I just look at the Warriors and
Got that too. I mean, passed it along to get
Yes.
the two to Nurkic, but yeah.
I just look at the Warriors and I'm just like, yeah, they're old. And they're going to, look, Steph is going to keep them relevant. He's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's really for them to have the success that they want, especially making a trade like getting Chris Paul in exchange for Poole.
Yeah.
They need Kuminga to have a big year. They need Moody, who showed some nice things tonight, being aggressive on both ends, to take a step, because you have to take pressure off Clay. You can't put all this pressure. Everyone's talking about, Chris Paul doesn't need all this pressure on him anymore. This will be good for him. Clay's the same way.
I don't think you're wrong at all. And I agree with you in so many different ways. Maybe this is like where Morgan Fence Sitter comes in. Hi, Fence Sitter. Like, that's what I do for a living. I don't make bold predictions or say anything bold. But when it comes to the Warriors and any team, I think after the first game of the season, I just have a hard time going there yet. And I think, and I think part of it is I'm not ready to act like Clay is old, even though he has more old moments than he has like these fantastic moments. And when he has those flashes, though, you're still like, oh, it's there. Now, can he just like string it together to be consistent?
You know what it is? No,
Yeah,
here's what
what?
it's less about him being old. He's not old.
No.
He's just been through a lot of injuries.
Yes.
I don't necessarily think he's the same guy he used to be.
And he
that's
hates
okay.
hearing that, and I don't blame
yes,
him.
but it doesn't mean he's a bad player or can't exist in the NBA anymore. What it means is he may just have to adjust his role.
Yeah.
His shot selection
That's
needs to
fair.
be better. Like, you're maybe not that same guy you were 4 years ago. That's okay. You can still be impactful. You've got decent size. You still have the shooting capability. Maybe you don't need to be taking 18 shots in a game. And I also think, like, one thing with Golden State, it's early. Morgan, to your point, dude, it's one game in. Okay, we're just talking.
We're
here.
just
I mean,
talking.
we're not making any bold proclamations off
Like
one
they're
regular
cooked.
season game when they're missing a key player. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But I understand, like, hey, with Chris Paul, it allows Steph to play off ball more. I like having that option for sure. If I'm the Warriors, I want Steph with the ball though. I want Steph in pick and rolls, and that's when he had some success in the playoffs last year. Is like, all right, let's stop dicking around. Like, let's run some pick and rolls. This guy is one of the great players in the game. Has all the gravity. Run the right shit with him. So anyway, it's gonna be interesting to see what the Warriors look like. I just thought a couple of notes tonight. Wiggins not finishing in the closing lineup. Chris Paul got it going a little bit late, but God, is he just irritating? Isn't he just irritating?
I don't give a shit what jersey he has on. I don't care. He's always going to be annoying to me. He's always going to be irritating. And there's other times where I'm like, damn, he's still so good. But for the most part tonight, I mean, he didn't make a three. He was 0 for 6 from beyond the arc. He still had those veteran moments where whether he throws his body, gets the call, and he makes a smart move. You know, it's not even necessarily a flop. He's just exaggerating the call. But I thought, like, going into all of this, Deuce, with Golden State, I thought it was interesting because when we saw Corey Joseph come in, who only played 4 minutes, right? But even when he came in, I'm like, how are we already to that point with the Golden State Warriors? I just think that Steve Kerr has a lot to figure out with his rotations, what he wants to do, because I think you're exactly right. Steph Curry with the ball in his hands is going to mean Chris Paul not on the floor in those moments, most likely. And I still believe, and I mean, I could be biting my tongue 2 weeks from now, 20 games in, whatever, but I still believe that it should be Chris Paul coming off the bench, being with that second unit, being that facilitator, because when you've Draymond in that first unit, you have so much of a facilitator. You have like the guy that you run your offense out of, with Steph Curry being ball dominant and everything. So yeah, again, just my thoughts after this first preseason game first regular season game for
That
the
looked
Warriors.
like a preseason game at times.
Correct.
Devin Booker looked awesome tonight.
Oh, can we go there?
Devin Booker.
He was the Phoenix Suns tonight. And it was fun to see, but it did make me worried about the rest of this Phoenix Suns roster, even though some guys at the end made those big shots. Gordon, you got Okogie.
Okogie was awesome.
And Okogie, what I loved about Okogie, it wasn't just the shots he was making. He was doing everything, being tenacious on the defensive end, finished with 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. He was just everywhere on the floor, irritating the Golden State Warriors. I thought he did a fantastic job with them.
He was awesome. And, last year there were so many times I remember watching him in the playoffs, and it was Josh Okogie standing in the corner, catch and shoot threes. Just not a consistent three-point shooter. I felt like, if anything, they relied on him too much to be the guy to take threes. And tonight, when he got that late look, I'm going, oh, shit, that's not good. And he buried it. He was awesome. He was everywhere. He was flying everywhere. Great effort. I mean, you get 17 points from Okogie tonight. I mean, in a game, that's massive.
That
if he's giving
one
you
three-pointer.
And it was with 1 3-pointer, but his 1 3-point attempt as well. And I think just his game is just out there to crash the glass, get those second chance opportunities, and finish inside. And, defensively, just getting the guys, play the passing lanes. He's super long. So that was obviously good. But now stop. I want to go back to Devin Booker, because Devin Booker is just an absolute stud. And
He's
tonight,
so fun.
late in the game, Golden State, their game plan was simple. Like, hey, we're going to throw another guy and try to get Booker to give up the ball. And it did work on a couple of possessions, right? Even when they threw a double team, Booker once split it. He got called for a travel. The next time, they ended up getting the ball to Okogie, and then Okogie's trying to put the ball on the floor, make a play.
Yeah.
Bad bounce pass. Chris Paul read it perfectly. Turnover. But then late in the game, he was finding his teammates. You mentioned the Nurkic play earlier in the pod. And then, of course, he hit Okogie on that 3-pointer.
Yes.
Just big-time plays. And he was awesome. 32 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds on 13-21.
I thought it was interesting because after the game, Stephanie Reddy, I saw like 2 questions she had asked him. And one of the questions was, what do you have to basically say to the haters, the naysayers, whatever, about not having a true point guard on your team? You had, he finished with 8 assists, was it? 8 assists, 32 points, 6 rebounds. He's not only finding his teammates, he's scoring, still being that scoring offensive threat, but also doing the other things on the floor. But I truly believe it's more of his playmaking ability that we witnessed tonight that was like, the ball needs to be in your hands, whether you're scoring or creating for your guys.
And when you look at the Suns team, obviously they have so many new players, including Beal, who did not play. And it's going to be an adjustment for them to figure all that out, especially with Beal in the fold too, right? Like, who's handling, what's the flow look like? Does it have a flow? And, there were some rocky moments at times tonight for them too. I mean, one of the reasons the Warriors stay in the game, the Suns had 19 turnovers in this game. I mean, that's a brutal number. And so one of the big things, going back to what you were saying about Booker and his interview with Stephanie Reddy, the one thing you look at with this team is, okay, they don't really have a point guard. Now, they have guys who can handle the ball. I trust Devin Booker's decision-making.
Agreed.
But, having, he also had Chris Paul for those years too, right? Having another guy that knows how to operate a team, take care of the ball, make the right decisions. And now it's going to be a little bit different. And Bradley Beal's an ISO guy. He's not totally used to this style. So that's going to be interesting to see what kind of the adjustment is. I thought Kevin Durant tonight, that's another guy. We talked about Clay. I mean, Durant, I've been a big fan of his for a long time.
Yes.
He's having more and more of these type of games. He had 18 points in this game. He still had 10 rebounds, but was 7 of 22 shooting. And I know Van Gundy on the broadcast was saying, hey, Warriors defense tonight. Sure, they were physical,
Thank
but I
you.
felt like Durant's shot was just short and everything. That could be preseason stuff, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like we're seeing more of these Durant games as the years go by.
His automatic turnaround jumper from the elbow, it hasn't been as automatic, if that's the nicest way to put it. And I'm totally with you, though. First game of the regular season. I mean, just people also eyeing him out, knowing what they need to do against him, like getting up in his jersey, getting up his. I mean, you saw it even with Chris Paul when he was like trying to get up all in him, and then Durant made one simple move, and then it ended up being an offensive foul because Chris Paul did a great job of being in the right place, selling it. All these veteran things happened. But for Kevin Durant, it was like, why were you even hesitating on that? You had the size advantage. Shoot over his ass. Like just those quick decisions, I feel like just didn't feel super quick tonight. Something that can absolutely change in this season, especially if he stays healthy and he is getting those minutes that he needs. And when I say that he needs, I'm saying that this team needs, because I think it's so ridiculous whenever we talk about all these teams that on paper they can win a championship, but then they only play like 10 games together.
Yeah. He played 37 minutes tonight. Same with Booker. So, yeah, this Suns team, I mean, it's going to come down to obviously that health, but I am wondering how much their supporting cast is going to grow together and what's that going to look like. I mean, Nurkic had some really nice moments in this game tonight.
Yeah.
Just more playing, not forcing anything.
You've been hard on Nurkic.
Yeah, because I just don't think he makes great decisions all the time. And I think maybe in this type of situation when he's surrounded by a lot more talent, he's just going to get what comes to him in the flow of the offense.
Yeah.
Be that big body and just honestly take some pressure off him. Like, in Portland, they almost needed him to be, hey, can you get me 18, 20 a night?
Yeah.
And then him not getting that wasn't good enough. Well, tonight he gives you 14 and 14. He had some really good moments out there. 3 assists. He hit a 3. And then Eubanks,
That's the one
who
I
was
want to
with
talk
him in
about.
Portland, Eubanks came out there and busted his ass. He wasn't perfect out there, but he did enough out there in his 20 minutes of action. So from a big perspective, that looks all right. Eric Gordon, that's another guy. You go, hey, when he's going, it's nice. He hit a big shot late, of course, but he's also older. You're just with these two teams we're talking about tonight. You're just there's a lot of wear and tear on some of these dudes.
Sure.
And so I don't know how much I trust it, but
Sure. No, I'm with you. And I think it's wear and tear and track record, right? What has happened when there has been the wear and tear is that these guys are sitting, they're not playing. Like already, Bradley Beal, his back, like not playing in the first game of the regular season. And I hate to see it. Obviously, I don't know what's going on with this back. He's out because the medical staff and him, they believe that he should be out. But yeah, those things are frustrating. But I think when you look at this Suns roster and you just go down the list, you go, okay, I knew it was going to be a mixture of things. But I will say this, if you don't have one of your guys playing, which Durant, Booker, Beal, all injury-prone guys.
Yep.
Like it's just, state it what it is. And if they're not playing, you just have like a Maj Podge of a roster, right? And it's like, what is your identity at that point? So, just hoping everyone stays healthy so we can see some good NBA basketball. But it was fun in that second half to watch these two teams play.
I know Booker has drawn a lot of Kobe comparisons over the years. I mean, it's true.
Killer instinct.
Dude.
He got
That turnaround jumper.
He got knocked by Looney toward the end of and the ball went out of bounds and the refs are like, Warriors ball, and it was like, okay. Oh, and then one of the final plays when Steph ended up getting that second chance opportunity, hitting that 3. It all started with Chris Paul throwing his arm and throwing Devin Booker off of him, which should have been an offensive foul in the first place. But again, he did a good job taking these hits, keeping his head on straight, and then making the big play down the stretch.
Dude, by the way, just real fast on this game before we go to Lakers Nuggets, the Warriors shot 35% in this game. 10 of 43 from downtown. Like, I guess that's like if you're Kerr tonight, you're going, Look, our guys missed a ton of shots. We got some good looks. They didn't fall. And we lost by 4. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
We'll be. And we were without
course.
Draymond. We're all right. We're
Of course.
fine.
And and Andrew Wiggins wasn't playing his game that he needed to play.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like you're going to depend on that. Like we've seen what Wiggins is obviously capable of, and I think he's going to be a big part of why Steph Curry and this team can have the success that they plan on having.
Appreciate everyone hanging out with us live right now.
Dude, thanks guys.
If you have not yet, hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed as well. People talking about what went down tonight. We're going to talk some Kings in just a little bit. Ron in the chat says Nuggets when healthy. Best team in basketball. Let's talk about those Nuggets tonight. Got the rings. Got the awesome, like Morgan was saying, the who's your daddy chants at the end of the game. That's where literally the NBA is so much like wrestling. It's just like WWE. The crowd was chanting, who's your daddy at the end of the game? Amazing.
I love the reference. I love like the buy-in from everybody. You could hear it on the broadcast. It was beautiful. And what a way to bring in the rings with a win against the Lakers on your home floor. And again, you just have a guy in Jokic who, you and I were talking about it, is just unstoppable when it comes to the offensive end. There's nothing like him.
He is going up against Anthony Davis, regarded as one of the best defensive players in the league, right?
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
Nope.
He's unbelievable. A triple-double tonight. He ends up finishing with 29 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists in the win. Denver wins 119-107. You know, there's a lot of hype going in this game because there's been some shit talking, which I love. You know, I was making a case to Morgan on the podcast a couple of weeks back, like, hey, this could be a good rivalry. These two teams are John. You know, you had Anthony Davis at Media Day.
Oh, yeah.
I actually brought the quote back before the season. I think me and Braun had some conversations like, we can't wait. Anytime you lose, it's motivation to get ready for the next season, try to compete for a championship. So that in itself is motivation. But also, all that little talking that's been going all summer long, we're ready. Well, Anthony Davis had 17 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists in 34 minutes. He finishes 6 of 17. He had 17 points in the game. Well, at halftime, he had 17 points. He did not score in the second half. He goes scoreless 0 for 6 for the Lakers, and they lose.
He was invisible in that second half. And I know we can preface everything 100 times like, oh, first game of the regular season. I get all of that. I think when it is a player like Anthony Davis and our expectations are different, and the reason why I'm talking about him differently than I'm talking about Kevin Durant, one, age, right? I mean, injury-wise, too, you look at Kevin Durant and just what he's been through with some of his injuries. And Anthony Davis, it feels like it's always like these little things over the years, whatever. All this hype around Anthony Davis and what he's capable of doing year after year after year. And then to just start the season like this, having that first half, solid first half, but then not being able to be there for your teammates when this team needs Anthony Davis and LeBron James every single night.
LeBron plays 29 minutes tonight, and it sounds like Darvin Ham is going to be playing him around 29, 30 minutes.
Okay.
Last year, he played like 35.
Yeah.
They're bringing those minutes down. Well, why? He's older. He's had the injuries, of course. They're trying to be smart with it early in the season. They're clearly a better team with LeBron on the floor, which is still crazy to even consider that this man is like pushing 40 and still out there having an impact on the game. But like, this can't be the year where Anthony Davis has games like this if you're the Lakers, right? You can't, especially with how brutal the West is. As Morgan said, this is one game. But when you start taking a step back and looking what the Lakers need this year, it's like AD has to be like locked in, ready to go. It's not just like not scoring in the second half. He only took 6 shots in the second half. You know, I need a more aggressive Anthony Davis. I need Anthony Davis to be getting me 25 points, even if it's on poor shooting. You can't have a situation where he goes scoreless in a half against the Denver Nuggets.
Be a threat. Be a threat.
Yeah.
And even be a threat on the defensive end. I mean, we started this whole talking about this game with, Jokic and what he finished in this game. And you think about Anthony Davis being in the middle. And are you bumping guys? Are you slowing things down? Because you're not going to stop Jokic, but are you slowing him down? And if you're not slowing him down, are you slowing down the other cutters that are moving without the basketball that Jokic does such a fantastic job of making better or getting them an easier shot? Like, I am standing from the outside. I'm not acting like this is an easy task, but there are things you can do better, especially when you're Anthony Davis, you're his size, and you've done what you've done in the NBA.
We've seen the moments, like even last year in the playoffs, AD, man, when he's out there and locked in, it's nasty. Oh. But that's really what it comes down to the Lakers. If they're going to have a chance to like make a big push and maybe get to the finals again, like they want to, they have to have AD play like, he's got to be one of their best guys.
Yeah.
And you can't have these type of moments where he's not there.
No show in the second half.
Yeah. I mean, and then D'Angelo Russell just wasn't very good for them tonight either. He looked a little bit more like the playoff D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell, I swear, every time the Kings play him, he looks like one of the greats of all time.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. Yes.
He's destroyed the Kings every time. Preseason, regular season, doesn't matter what uniform he wears, he kills the Kings. He was not very good in this game tonight. But yeah, I mean, I think the Lakers, I like some of the moves they made. I like them adding Taurean Prince. I like them adding Gabe Vincent, even though Gabe didn't really have a good game tonight. I think they have a really good team, but it's just all hinges on AD staying healthy and playing consistent.
Two things before I get to Gabe. I just want to talk about the LeBron was mic'd up or D'Lo was mic'd up. One of them.
Oh my God. The highlight of the early season tonight.
Deuce.
I'm so glad you brought this up.
Yes.
So I don't know if you guys watched the game, but if you did not, LeBron James is mic'd up by TNT. He's having a conversation where D'Angelo Russell kind of sounds like he's kissing up to LeBron. That's separate. But LeBron's like, hey, man, get me on the elbow, man. I have such great vision. I'm just pick and roll. I'll be at the elbow. Get me the ball. I'll find guys. I could see the whole floor.
I see everything.
And then the person, I forget who put it on social media, maybe Half Court Hoops, I think is the account. It shows like one of the plays right after it happened, and it's that situation. Pick and roll. Russell has a chance to go to the elbow to feed LeBron, and instead D'Angelo Russell backs it out and launches an ill-advised three with no ball movement.
Chucks it up.
Beyond frustrating.
Beyond. And there's so many frustrating things that he does. And then when he does play well, you're like, oh, I get it. But yeah, so that's why then going into Gabe Vincent, I remember this summer when I was on a broadcast, I was talking about how I was like, well, Gabe Vincent's going to start over D'Lo. Like there's no argument here, because I'm thinking about how Gabe Vincent worked his way to play above Kyle Lowry on a finals team. Like, that's got to be the way. Well, Gabe Vincent, his first regular season game tonight, didn't look amazing, didn't stand out. And I understand if they have a different type of flow with D'Angelo Russell, but I think we're going to see over time that this rotation is definitely going to be changing.
I just have a tough time connecting with teams that just don't move the ball consistently, because I watch the Lakers and I'm like, there's some great individuals here, but ultimately I don't connect with it. And then I watch Denver. I watch teams like Denver, Sacramento, Golden State, when they're clicking, and you're like, dude, this is basketball. In Denver, you could just tell again the continuity factor. Of course, they lose a couple of key guys in Jeff Green and Bruce Brown, but man, I mean, Jokic is just a freaking beast. The non-Jokic minutes for stretches obviously are not good, and I think that's going to be fragile early season, especially when you don't have Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. You're relying on younger people like Zeke Naji, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where I think it gets, in Watson, I think that's where it gets challenging.
Well, the other thing is, too, I mean, not only does it get challenging because then you're like, okay, well, who is scoring for me, but who's doing all the other little things?
Who's running the offense?
Who's running the offense for sure, and who's doing all the other little things? And you want someone like a sharp shooter like Michael Porter Jr. to be knocking down shots. He was 2 for 9 from 3-point land, but he had 12 rebounds. And I saw post game locker room thing where Michael Malone is handing out the Depog chain, gave it to KCP, who we'll talk about in a second, but what brought up Michael Porter Jr. and was like, those 12 rebounds, like you did things on this floor that we needed to see. And you're talking about some of those guys that they're missing, that they don't have making these hustle plays anymore. And for him to start realizing like he can utilize his size and really crash the boards and do some more is what he's going to need to do for this squad.
And he showed flashes of that last year in the playoffs.
Yep.
It's just doing it consistently. Like Malone's obviously not going to care about Michael Porter missing shots because it's like that shot's beautiful. It's going to drop. It's just being that consistent rebounder, doing the little things, playing better defense, and he's getting better in those areas. He
better. KCP was the other one I wanted to talk about because I mean, not only did he end up scoring 20 points tonight, but just the way that he was getting his hands in the passing lanes. He finished with 3 steals on the night. He was just everywhere on the defensive end, making people have to work so much harder. I loved what he had to offer tonight.
I think he always has a little extra with the Lakers. Of course, played there. You know, he got moved. He was a big part of that team that won a championship inside the bubble.
Yeah.
And I think it's his way to kind of stick it to him. Like, yeah, I am a person that belongs on championship caliber teams. And I got my ring tonight, and I'm going to go hit shots in your face. I'm going to play really physical defense. I'm going to make sure I'm out there in the passing lanes. I love KCP as a role player. Denver, look, Jokic is the best player in the game.
He's the best.
We don't need to pretend like he's not. And it's fine. Last year, Embiid won the MVP, and Embiid had a hell of a year. But you just watch how Jokic impacts the game every night. You can't really do anything against him to defend him. I don't know what you do. I mean, inside out, his passing, his ability to shoot over everyone, high arcing three. He has great touch.
His ability to score and everything that you just mentioned, and then you touched on his passing. It's his passing because of his size and his ability, like his knowledge of the game and understanding how to lead a person with the pass. It doesn't matter if they're this tall or this tall. He knows exactly the finesse and the speed and everything where that ball needs to be for that person to get the best looking shot off. It's absolutely. I feel like if he was had quick feet, I'm sure he could be like a quarterback in the NFL. Quick feet and a lot of other things. He could be a quarterback in the NFL.
In a night where he has 29, 13, and 11, but he was 12 of 22.
Yeah.
And he was 3 of 5 from 3. Good luck. I don't know what you do as an NBA defense. If you're the Lakers, you have Anthony Davis on your team. You can't do anything.
Yes.
AD's one of the best defenders in the league, and you can't do anything against him. AD's strong too.
Dude, and everyone always wants to talk about what are teams like the Kings going to do without rim protection? And it's like there's teams with rim protection and they can still get, or they still can't get shit done. So
it's insane. My big question about Denver this year, it's not just based on the night. By the way, when I'm asking some of these big questions about the Warriors or the Lakers or the Suns, Nuggets, I'm not saying it based on tonight's game, right? To me, we're one game. I'm not overreacting.
No.
I look at the Nuggets bench this year and I go, okay, so they're counting on a lot of younger guys, and guys who didn't play major minutes for them last year. I mean, Christian Brown did play obviously some meaningful playoff minutes, but besides that, they're relying on some guys that maybe didn't get a ton of run. Reggie Jackson came to them late last year. He was in and out at times, right? So they're relying on him more. They're really going to rely on Brown more. They're Zeke Naji more. So, those type of guys are going to be up and down, and it's going to take them a while to build an identity as a team where when you've got guys like when Jokic is off the floor and you've got Bruce Brown out there who can make plays.
Sure.
Jeff Green, who could hit a corner three, just a smart guy, can attack the basket. Well, now you replace it with guys with less experience. It's going to take some time.
That's it. You're doing what your identity of your organization has been, and that has been internal growth. And internal growth can always take a step back, I guess you could say. It can change. And I feel like this is going to be the year that it changes, unless that internal growth turns into okay, we're actually going to make some moves and do something different and add here. I don't know what that is or how that would even work.
They don't really have a lot of great moves they can make.
Exactly.
To be
So
honest.
like that's where I go, okay, then you are literally depending on your internal growth this year and having the best player in the game on your team.
I love their starting 5 though.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray, KCP,
Yep.
Jokic, Gordon, Porter.
Love it.
Damn.
Love it.
That's nice. That's nice. Wow. First night of the NBA season in the books.
Fun.
Did we overreact too much on stuff? Because I wanted to make it clear some of my takes were not based on
I think we should
tonight's
have
specific game.
disclaimer through the first 20 games.
Yeah.
Through the first 15 to 20 for me. I don't know what your disclaimer is, but my disclaimer is through the first 15, 20, we're just talking about what we saw and what may happen and what we could see. But shit changes fast in this league.
I mean, I think going back to my AD point from earlier, where you can't have a game like those games do happen for sure.
100%.
But I think similar to what I said about KD, I'm like, God, KD's had more of these games in recent years. Anthony Davis has these games sometimes, and for the Lakers to reach the goals that they have set forth, it can't be. It can't be. He's got to be dominant. And, like you said, he's gotten some MVP hype. So, look, it's one game. We'll see. He's going to have monster games down the stretch. I did draft him on my fantasy team. I may have to cut him after today, but
wow.
Just kidding.
Wait, would you really cut him after?
No.
Okay.
That if you did that in a league.
Yeah. Would you cut
that's
him if he got
grounds-
hurt, though?
No, well, it depends how long he's out. No. We have injured reserves.
6 weeks.
Wow. Morgan has never played fantasy basketball before.
Are you kidding? I used to play all the time. I understand you have IR and everything, but hi. I used to
didn't
win
know.
the shit
I
out of
didn't
my
know.
leagues. That was so belittling and wrong.
Well,
Take it back right
just
now.
asked if
And
I-
you have shit in your teeth. You look dumb.
If I cut... You just said if Anthony Davis missed 6 weeks, would you cut him? No, I would keep him.
I don't even know. Like, even I asked you too. I asked you with your league, and I haven't played in so long. But I did ask you with your league. I'm like, wait, can you make guys centers and power forwards? Like, do you have that position?
They have positions assigned by them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
you're not dumb anymore.
let's get to some comments before we get to the Sacramento Kings. Morgan Reagan. Sherbert says, I think people don't like Jokic because it's not flashy. Besides his passes, maybe. Yeah. Anyone who is anti-Jokic, I go, you don't really like basketball. You don't.
Yeah.
If you can't appreciate his game, the basketball IQ, the passing, the touch, the finesse, and the physicality. He plays he's a total package.
And making teammates better.
Yes.
I think that's what makes it so fun to watch.
Mark says, with Jokic's ridiculous IQ and skills, his low reliance on athleticism, in 6 to 8 years, we might be talking about the GOAT. Just look at the guy's PER. Yeah, that's a point Barkley made tonight, too, on the broadcast. This guy's not his game should age well.
Yeah. Yeah. How could it not? I mean, you think about someone who is not playing jumping high above the rim. He's not putting all these things on all this weight on his knees and doing all these things that puts a body in danger of having a shorter career. Yeah, it's wild to think about his game and why it's so good.
Morgan.
Yeah. What?
We get Kings season starting tomorrow. For some people listening to this later, it's today.
Oh.
Kings are in Salt Lake City to take on the Utah Jazz.
Oh, man.
I'm really excited for this. I mean, I think we've spent so much time talking about every single possible angle regarding the Sacramento Kings. Now it's here. There's expectations that we have not felt in a long time with the Sacramento Kings.
No.
How crazy is that?
It is, but I still feel, which I'm surprised, and I don't know if it's just changed over the years, but I still feel very realistic with my expectations. I'm excited, but I also I don't know. I understand what they have to do to accomplish what they want to accomplish, especially in this Western Conference. I don't know. I just and on top of that, you want to talk about internal growth. This is a team that we've talked about many times, running it back, continuity, all these things. Like there's so many good things to it, but there's also some danger to it too. Like, do you stay stagnant? Do you kind of stay right there with, hey, your offense being the best, but your defense still being shit, and then you're just still going to be that same team where you need both those things to somehow get better.
Mike Brown is going to be calling some early timeouts this year, just like he did last year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the defense is such a big priority. I mean, I feel like it's all he talks about. I feel like there's zero concern about the offense. They believe that this offense is going to be just as good as last year. And if it drops at all, it's not going to be from like 1 to 10 or 12. It's going to be
top 5.
We're a top 5 offense.
Yeah.
And they're so focused on defense. And today was our final practice we got to go to before the Kings went to Salt Lake City. And that was a big topic today. Mike Brown said some things that made me want to run through a wall.
Oh, what did he say that made you?
Well, first thing, James Hand was asking him about the starting shooting guard spot. So Chris Duarte is questionable, but they're optimistic he'll be able to play coming up against the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
He will not be starting. That's going to go to Kevin Huerter. Trey Lyles will be missing the game. So he's still dealing with that calf strain. I don't know how long he's going to be out, but he is missing the game. Anyway, here's what Mike Brown had to say about Kevin Huerter starting.
Kevin's going to start. Yeah, Kevin's going to start. And, every time we practice, every time we have shoot around, it's my job to evaluate the team. And I told the group there, I said, I know for sure I'm not going to sit back and watch us play the same way we play defensively without making changes. It doesn't just mean Kevin. That can mean anybody. Obviously Fox and Domas, a little harder to make a change there, but that can mean anybody, and not just with the starting 5. It could be with the 8th guy in the rotation. Well, if he can't bring it defensively, maybe we need to put somebody else in his spot. But our team, from top to bottom, has to understand that we got to defend, and we don't and will not finish 25th or 26th defensively as a team.
They were 24th in defensive rating last year, but Kevin Huerter is starting opening night. After that, who knows? I mean, I think that clip is pretty clear. Mike Brown is saying we have to defend.
Yep.
And if Kevin Huerter is not defending,
that's what he's saying.
Then he's not going to be in the starting lineup. And if Harrison Barnes isn't, then I'm going to have some tough decisions to make. If Keegan Murray's not doing it, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think that's the reality of the situation is Kevin Huerter is going to be on a short leash. And and it's not just Kevin, like he said. I think it goes to someone like Malik Monk, who, when he's locked in, it's awesome, man. He's getting guys involved. He's being a pest defensively. Even if there's some mistakes, he's locked in for the most part. But if he's not playing, if he's not playing defense, he's not going to play as much.
Right. Yeah. And I think, this is something that has been said hundreds of billions of times. Like, we have spent hours on talking about how Mike Brown has talked about this, especially in this preseason, especially in training camp. And I think we've talked about like how this team will handle that type of change if that is going to happen to their role. And the other day I asked Mike Brown about that, and he talked about how, well, there's 3 ways they can take it. They can either
reject
it, or they can accept it, which means you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, or they can embrace it, which means that they are not only accepting it, they are wanting to challenge themselves to be better in that role. Like, it is the ultimate buy-in. And I love that. And this was something he said at the end of that made me so happy. He's like, and we signed that contract. And so if they're not doing that and embracing it, then it's like, why'd you sign that contract? And if they kind of go in a different direction, we're all going to come together and reel them back in. And what I loved about that, it's never like this weird ego that's like, well, I'm going to get them and I'm going to make sure they get it. I'm going to put it in their head. It's like, no, we're going to make sure that we are handling these situations with love and care and communication and humanizing everyone and understanding that it might be hard for one mentally to change their role. And that's okay because they're human, but we're going to find a way to get them there. And his style of coaching and just communicating with humans is absolutely fantastic.
Well, we were there today and he was ripping the team. We couldn't hear everything, but he was dropping F-bombs left and right about them because they were playing a scrimmage.
Yes.
And they had a specific situation where I think it was like 4 minutes left on the clock and they put a random score up. Let's just say, I don't know, 107, 104.
Nice.
And they were supposed to go out there and execute, play defense. And both teams were just scoring on each other at will. And he was pissed. He ended it earlier. There was still like 6 seconds left on that game. And he just ended it. And then he brought him in and they were in a huddle and he just laid into him.
Cussing
saying
them
it's got
out
to be
a
better.
little. Love it. I
And
love it.
And I think this year too, it's not only like, hey, if we're going to get better, if you want to be like a legit team, we have to get better defensively.
Yeah.
But I also think it's not just the talk of, guys, we have to get better. I also believe, Morgan, you said run it back. They brought their core back. I think he feels this way now because he also knows he has options.
Yep.
This year, he has Chris Huerter, who in the preseason, when he was healthy, showed like, okay, there's some good on-ball defense there. He's getting in the guys, and he's hitting some threes. And then Colby Jones, look, I'm not trying to overreact too much from Colby Jones, but we did see his college stuff, and he's playing just like he did in college, and he's doing it at an NBA level.
It's translated well.
If he turns out to be something, that could be one of the awesome steals of this draft to get him in the second round.
100%.
And I think he believes, after seeing what he's seen in training camp practices and in the preseason, that he's a guy that could help. So now it's like, last year, maybe it was like, look, we're in a tough spot. We don't have a whole bunch of guys we can throw in and replace certain guys that are not doing what they're supposed to do defensive. We got to call a timeout to correct it, and then we put them back in. Where now I think it's like, everyone knows what the expectations are. Everyone knows what needs to be done defensively.
Leash just got shorter.
You got to go do it. I got other guys willing to come in and fight for these minutes.
Yeah. Leashes are shorter, which I think can be healthy if you have the right type of people on your team that understand that tough love and know how to accept it just to ultimately make them better basketball players. And what I love about it, because I talk about it making them better basketball players, that means more competition, more competitiveness, more fires being lit under people's asses to make sure you're doing the extra thing. You're in the right spot. You're blasting through a screen. You are, getting quicker when you're in the weight room, working on your footwork, working on your whatever it is to better yourself.
It's also
you are doing.
Being mentally locked in.
Yes.
I don't think, I've said this before, but when I watched the Kings last year, very few times did I question their defensive effort. It was like not being locked in, not communicating or something.
Ball watching.
Come on.
Yeah,
like,
technical
let's
stuff.
Let's go. Like, let's be ready to go and locked in. So that's the good news, is it's not an effort-based thing. Because if you have to coach effort, then you're really fucked.
Well, and
you know
that's
what I mean?
that's
like,
what we saw for so many years in Sacramento. It's like it was an effort thing. I mean, and not to call a single person out, but I think someone that like it's an obvious one. It was like Buddy Hield night in and night out. It was just like, wait, how does he not have that want? And it was like, because they don't have anything else to go to. They don't have depth on this bench. They don't even have an identity with this team. They don't have a shooter. And that's why this guy gets to stay out here the whole time. Where with this roster, it's just so different. There's depth, there's standards, there's an identity. Like there's so many more things that go into this team and why it's only going to make them better. So yeah, I guess going back to Kevin Huerter being in that starting lineup, game one, it's like he knows. He felt it in the preseason. We heard him in the locker room after that game that he did not start. Like he knows it, but I hope he also knows how to handle it here and how to make him better physically as a basketball player too.
Another thing Mike Brown was asked about today after practice was slippage, which was some of the stuff that we've seen like at the end of that scrimmage where it's like, where's the consistency? We're seeing some better moments from them defensively, but it's not there all the time. Mike Brown addressed that slippage.
Slippage can be invisible. You know what I'm saying? If you're not careful, it can happen, and if you don't address it, in my opinion, it can sneak up on you, and then it'd be too late to try to fix it. So I'm looking for any slippage at all at any time, and if I see it, I'm going to address it. Because in order to go from good to great, you have to lock in on the details. You got to focus. One of the things you have to do is you got to focus on the details, and you got to appreciate how important those things are. And which means that anytime something small happens, you're just not gonna be like, okay, that's fine. We'll be good. I just messed up. No. It happened. Let's address it, and let's understand how important it is, so that it doesn't happen again as often as it had been going. You know what I'm saying?
Attention to detail, standards, all those things. And especially in the beginning of the season, love it.
He's going to be tough on him. And he was tough on him last year too.
Yeah.
And, it's just about embracing it.
Yeah.
Understanding that if you do the right things, it could lead to some really awesome things for the Sacramento Kings. I maintain this. If the Kings are just an average defensive team this year, which that would be a significant jump for them too. So I'm not trying to minimize that.
Sure.
They were 24th. If they were average, 15, 16, I think we can literally have a conversation about them as being one of the contenders in the West, because I think that offense is going to be that good that if you can improve defensively, it just makes your life easier offensively too.
You saw that combination work for the Nuggets. So obviously, yeah, it's something you can say confidently if that was the case with their defense. And I think they have certain pieces and the right defensive philosophy to make this happen. But I think we're going to get real frustrated through the first 15 something games. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
Making a bold prediction.
That's a bold prediction.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm eager to see what the lineup looks like in 15 games.
It's same. Like, I cannot sit here confidently and be like, this is what it's going to be.
And a bit of a curveball early too. We'll look more at that Kings Jazz matchup, but thinking about the fact that Trey's not playing, Duarte, he's questionable. So let's play in a world he doesn't play.
Okay.
Those are two players you think one could be a starter, Duarte, and another who's probably playing a pretty big role for you, at least early. That means other guys are going to get opportunities.
Yeah.
That means Colby Jones could get some decent run tomorrow, potentially. And Sasha could get some run tomorrow.
Which I want to see. It's the same thing we were talking about the Warriors game early on tonight, where you saw Jonathan Kuminga playing at the end of the game and not Andrew Wiggins. And we were like, why is that? What's going on? Is this a thing where Steve Kerr's just trying to give him a little bit more of that experience? Or was it because Andrew Wiggins wasn't playing his best basketball, not rebounding the ball? No matter what it was, either way, you're exactly right. Sasha could be in that position to have that type of opportunity where he is getting those minutes and getting to learn something different about the NBA game.
I'd love it for him too.
Love it. He needs as much experience in NBA minutes as he can get. As Deuce drinks his gallon
I'm
of
trying
water.
to stay hydrated.
Oh,
Appreciate everyone being with us live right now. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel too. You're going, wait, you're doing a night chat and there's no Kings game? Yeah, we are live after every single Kings game, but we will be having some more NBA night chats throughout the season because we're doing a ton of NBA content this season as well.
I mean, and we're watching the game, so also why not just break it down and talk about it after? And especially because there are so many NBA fans here that have been joining our YouTube more and more. So yeah, enjoy the ride. Let's go. We're going to be here every single second.
Kings Jazz, Salt Lake City. This is a tough place to play, Morgan. This is a hostile environment. It's tough on opening night because their fans are all fired up. And this Utah Jazz team does present problems for Sacramento. They've got a big front line that got bigger this offseason. They get John Collins. They still have Markkanen. Walker Kessler is a stud and a half.
Correct.
Some decent size. Even, THT, who is starting for them.
Dude.
He's super long.
He's big. He's big in the
well,
shoulders.
And he torched the Kings last preseason game.
Yeah.
Jordan Clarkson can get buckets.
Uh-huh.
Then you go to their bench, and that's where the questions start coming up. It's like, okay, you've got Colin Sexton, and what else? Chris Dunn shows some flashes, but a lot of young guys, right? They had 3 first-round picks. So it's a team that, as you project them this season, you go, I don't really see it in a crowded West when they don't have a point guard. It seemed like they really took a dip after trading Conley to Minnesota. But this specific game, tough environment, you got a bucket getter in Clarkson and long athletic players. They like to play some zone 2. It's not going to be an easy game. It's just not.
Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah, that's my whole point.
Like, where are you going with this? Yeah, I guess, but you say that, and here's my thing. There's not a single team in the West where I'm like, it's going to be an easy game, and that's why talking about this roster like that, I'm like, yeah, well, no shit. It's not going to be easy, but you're exactly right. When it comes to like the length and when it comes to size, that's where we go. Last year, we saw the Sacramento Kings have issues with a lot of these long arms on both ends of the floor, right? Just finding ways to score in the paint, or whether it was on for the Kings, them defensively, not being able to keep guys out of the paint. And so, yeah, it's a big, interesting test tomorrow for their first regular season game. But I'm with you. I think since the Jazz have kind of changed up what they were with Mike Conley, it's like they had that veteran leadership.
Yes.
That guy, that floor manager. And I think with this squad, it's a little mixed up, but they still have just so much talent and so much big talent that it's still going to be very tough.
I was looking at Sabonis' numbers against Utah last year. He averaged 19 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists against the Utah Jazz, shooting 31 of 50. But yeah, I mean, Utah, I'd have to go deeper in the games to see like who was actually playing in that. But
It's okay.
yeah, the size has given Sacramento problems at times. And then the other thing they like to do is they throw some zone defense that
Just screws with you.
I think it screws with every team, but a team like Sacramento, you catch on faster. And that was one irritating thing when we'd watch Sacramento last year. It's like, what do I do? If the people on the floor aren't noticing, that I need the bench to be yelling, they're in a zone. Tell what kind of zone is it?
Attack the gaps.
Okay.
Attack the gaps. Attack the gaps. Even with
you're fine.
If you don't have the ball, if you do have the ball, attack the gaps. Play your same game. Like the type of free offense that the Kings do play can still work well against so many different defenses. So yeah, that's something I definitely want to see them. It's just like noticing these things right away.
These two teams played some fun games last year. The one in Sacramento where Huerter had the big 3, that was probably one of the loudest games I remember at Golden One Center. Just that moment when he sank it. And then in Utah, De'Aaron Fox had the game winner.
God.
Took it to the rack.
Oh, yes. I do recall. Is that the one where then there was that last shot made by a Utah Jazz
by
player?
Markkanen, right?
Is that what it was?
It didn't go off in time.
That's
yeah,
what
it was insane. Yes.
Okay. God, I have a bad memory, but
Good
that
job.
was. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
We had a chance to ask Mike Brown today about the Utah Jazz, and here's what he had to say.
Will does a great job. They run a lot of really good stuff. Their ball movement is good. They have guys that can go get it one-on-one situations off the dribble. They get guys that can shoot it. Like you said, they are long, and so they pose some challenges defensively. They junk it up a little defensively, too, with the way they play their zone and the way they slice the corners. And so it's a good test for us, obviously. That the altitude is a little different there, and at the end of the day, that's real. But that's where you have to have a mental toughness, a mental discipline to go in there and not let it impact you. So they got some different things that can give us headaches. But if we go and we play the way we're capable of, and I feel this against anybody, we should give ourselves a good chance to come out of any arena, especially our home arena, with a victory.
By the way, Utah was 23-18 at home last year. That was the same record the Kings had at home last year. Another wild thing about last year with Utah, some people may forget, they started 10-3 last year.
Oh, yes.
They got to a really good start.
People were very high on the Utah Jazz. And then when it kept going down, 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 it was like, okay, this is who they really are. But yeah, I think looking at that game tomorrow too, because we keep talking about how this Kings offense is so powerful. It's early on, and I feel like shots are still missed a lot when it's early on. And I think about this offense for the Kings, and if they're missing those shots, and then it's difficult to get in the paint when Walker Kessler's in there protecting the rim, and they have other big bodies, long arms in there, John Collins, whoever else you want to name. I just go, how are you going to go up against those guys? And I think it's really important that you want to talk about physicality on the defensive end, being physical on the offensive end, going into a body and making sure you're not just like being soft when you do go to the rim.
I want to make those big bodies run. I want to push the pace a little bit, but the elevation in Salt Lake City, 4,265 feet. So not as challenging as Denver, but for the first game of the season, like even the Lakers tonight, you could train all you want. You haven't played in elevation in a minute. I think it is a real thing to factor in, early in the season, right? Like at the very start, you're not used to be playing these heavy minutes against all the star players. You've been doing preseason and training camp. Now, for Sacramento's standpoint, they go hard. Like, and I'm not just talking about preseason. I'm talking about their practices, their scrimmages. Like, Mike Brown puts them through a lot to get ready for this point.
Absolutely. And I think when you do look at something like elevation, someone will say like, everyone does it in the league. And it's like, absolutely. But every body is different in the league, and it's going to affect people differently as well. So you only hope that it affects your team. I mean, your team, you can only hope it's going to be just fine.
Some things to watch in Kings Jazz. For me, the first one is just flat out defense. We've spent time on this tonight on the podcast. I wanted to just see what it looks like in a regular season game.
Okay.
When Mike Brown just called out his team right after practice and then spoke to the media about it, how do they respond? This has been something they've been talking about all camp long, and we've seen moments of it. I am super bullish on De'Aaron Fox's defense. I think he's absolutely brought it in the preseason. I know what Davion Mitchell could do. I've seen some stuff from Chris Huerter. I've seen some growth from Keegan Murray, Colby Jones. But as a collective, are there going to be better moments and fewer breakdowns? To me, that's one of the big things to watch in game one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely with you. I think after watching so many different things in the preseason, I still don't have these high expectations for the defense to be figured out right away. And I'm not saying that you do with that. I think, are you thinking more like with individual defense things to look at?
I'm looking, yes, but I'm also looking for, are they playing with more physicality out there?
Okay.
Are they bumping guys a little more?
Yeah.
I don't want to see soft plays. I don't want to see major breakdowns. Now, breakdowns happen in a game, but make sure we have better pick and roll defense out there if you're Sacramento.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to see a whole bunch of open looks from three. I just want to see a group that seems more locked in, understanding that there are going to be limitations because they don't have elite wing defenders on this team. They don't have a whole bunch of elite defensive talent, but they can make life more challenging, make this Utah Jazz team work.
I like that. I think something I'm going to look at, and I think it's a little bit unfair, but it's the same thing that we even did with Anthony Davis tonight for different reasons, though. Looking at what type of play he needs to have early on for his team in the Lakers. I'm going to say this for Kevin Huerter with the Kings, and the only reason why, obviously not comparing the talent of these two, but I'm saying that because there is a magnifying glass on Kevin Huerter in every move right now. In every single possession matters for him. I think the leash is just so short that if he is not doing the right thing, and I think the right thing isn't making shots. The right thing is making sure that you are crashing the boards and getting those rebounds. The right thing is being physical on the defensive end and not being the one not being the reason why the defense breaks down. Like all those things, you almost have to be perfect in to prove that you deserve to have that starting spot. And I think that really is going to start from game one for Kevin Huerter. And I feel bad for him in a lot of ways, and that pressure is going to be on. But take that pressure and channel it into this like fire. Like find a way to just make you better. And it's going to be hard, but sometimes that's life.
The next thing for me, I want to see what Keegan looks like. Is he playing with that same aggressiveness? Are we seeing what we saw in the preseason from him? And if I'm the Kings, I want to get him going early too.
Hell yeah.
Run
Give
a
him
couple
the
plays.
ball.
And they've done a good job with that in the preseason, getting him going in action. And I mean, he's had some nice dunks in the preseason because of that. But I just want to see that from the jump this year. Remember, the Kings started 0-4 last season.
I do remember that.
0-4. Could you imagine if they started 0-4 this year?
You know what's funny? I can.
No. You say that because like it's games are tough. You got the Jazz, the Warriors, the Lakers, blah 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 blah. But imagine what the conversations would be if this team started 0-4.
Blah, blah, blah. Don't care. I just care about what they look like on the floor. That was the thing even in the 0-4 last season. I was like, yeah, but it's different. Like they're still playing good basketball. They just haven't figured it out together. They haven't figured it out together. And then boom, then they figure it out together. And then it was one of their best years ever. So it's like, I'm not saying I hope it takes 4 games for them to figure it out to get a win again or anything. But that's where I stand with something like that. But going off of what you kind of said of things to look at, I'm with you when it comes to Keegan. I want to see him go into the chest of like Walker Kessler tomorrow. You know, like, yeah, like give him a little elbow there.
Don't catch a body. Huh?
Yeah, like just, and I don't mean that in an evil way. I just mean that in a physical way of how it's the only way you're going to draw a foul. It's the only way that you're going to make a basket tomorrow is just being the bigger player tomorrow.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be so much fun. Are you excited?
I'm beyond excited. I'm also nervous, you know? Expectations just bring you, but I also have confidence. I'm all over the place.
I can tell. I'm nervous. Like, who are you? Are you getting ready for the game tomorrow? You putting on a jersey? I'm kidding.
We live this shit.
I know,
Morgan.
but your nerves. It's cute. Like it's sweet. It's like I'm nervous. I can picture you like actually putting on like a Kings jersey and feeling like you're one of the players tomorrow.
Mike Brown makes that call. I'll get physical with guys.
I know you would.
I'll play hard.
I know you would.
I can give you a good 3.
Dude,
minutes.
someone was asking me at media today a little bit about my game back when I would play. And then they were talking about media members playing. And I was like, dude, you shove Deuce and I in the pick and roll, we would fucking dominate everybody. Like it would be a nasty ass game, us two on the same team together in a pick and roll. And I was like, because Deuce is, this is what I said though. This is my point. Deuce is really physical. Like it doesn't matter if he's playing a pickup game or a game that like is supposed to mean something. It's like he plays physical, he plays with heart, and like you'll want him on your team. I said that about you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Was it on camera? Was it recorded anywhere?
Nope. You'll never hear it
Kind
again.
of hard to believe. Kind of hard to believe. Before we wind down, I do want to get to some comments or questions. So if you have any last minute questions or comments in the chat, let us know. Reminder, we're going to be live after every single Kings game this year. And of course, have live streams and clips on our YouTube page. So make sure you're locked in. Thomas says, it feels so good to be back. Uncle Keegs is about to average 15 a game this season.
Wow.
I think he can average higher.
That's cute. Let's just keep it there.
Do you want Deuce Mason's projection for Keegan this year?
No, I don't.
17.2 a game.
I don't. Dislike.
Oh, man.
Deuce can play basketball.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Daddy Deuce is physical, says Nick.
Yes, I am.
Deuce does CrossFit, the beacon of fitness, local legend. Why is Deuce getting all these compliments?
I honestly don't know what's
very
happening.
Confused. That's
I'm confused
too many
by
in a row.
Jake in the chat says, as long as the Kings score a lot, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but ultimately, as long as they're winning, they'll figure it out. Yeah, I mean, you have to score in this league, but
To win.
the defense, and that's why I'm not. saying that the Kings need to be a top 10 defensive team. Oh, make life a lot easier, but they don't, in my opinion, they don't have the type of ceiling with the current personnel. But I do think they have the personnel and the IQ to be average.
Yeah.
Right around average. And that would be a huge improvement for the Sacramento Kings.
And here's my advice for anyone too: just don't freak out tomorrow if you see things that you don't like. I think it's so easy to jump to that. Even tonight, watching other teams play and being like, "Is Kevin Durant like this? Or are the Lakers like this? Or are the Warriors cooked?" I didn't actually say that, but it's just people jump to these things, and it's like, slow it down.
Barkley said tonight that the Warriors are the worst team in California. What? Can you give me your California power rankings as we
If
enter
you
the
have
season?
Steph Curry on your squad, you just can't be the worst team. You can't. I can't count that guy out. He can carry you. He can carry you. No, I won't give my power rankings for California teams.
My
Deuce will.
going into the season, California power rankings, very important
Deuce will.
stuff.
Yeah.
Kings won.
You be a homer much. Be a homer much.
Kings won.
Be a homer. Like what? As you're wearing a Kings hat and a Kings shirt. Kings are the best team in California.
Well, breaking news: they won the Pacific Division last year.
Continue.
But
Continue.
sure.
Continue.
They were literally the best team in California last year.
Continue.
Kings won. I don't know why that's so funny to you.
It's funny. It is funny coming from you. Continue.
Kings won. Lakers 2.
Okay.
Warriors 3. Clippers 4. That's just
are-
my going. It could change.
Are the Clippers
It's my power rankings
at 4 because you haven't seen them healthy on the floor together pretty much?
I don't trust that team.
Sure.
Prove it.
Sure.
I love Paul George. I love Kawhi Leonard.
Love.
The other guy
You
that
can
I
do
liked
whatever
during
you
the
want.
preseason, Westbrook. I think Westbrook has been a great fit there. I think he is buying into his role now. I think he's understanding it more, and I think he just likes those playing with Kawhi and Paul more.
And what will that team be like with James Harden on the squad? So then you got Harden starting, you got Russ, you got PG-13, you got Kawhi, and then
who
what?
knows, dude?
Who would be your 5? Zubats?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could just get more interesting.
They brought Russ. I think they're bringing Russ off the bench. Unless
Well,
he's starting,
you're who's telling Russ that?
Well, I think he's been coming off the bench for the Clippers. Is my point.
Oh, I think he's gonna. I think he's in the starting crew now. I tell me if I'm wrong, everybody, but I thought
to start the season, yeah. Well, I'm saying if they bring Harden in though, right now they're going with Westbrook, George, Terrence Mann, who's out, Kawhi Leonard, and Zubats.
Okay, so
They don't have a ton of great options behind
James
him.
Harden in that Terrence Mann role. There you go.
That's weird.
It's really freaking weird. But like as an NBA fan, I'd be down to see it. It'd probably be disgusting, and love disgusting.
I'm not reading this. Gerardo, is Deuce turning into the Warriors play-by-play team because I'm being a homer about the Kings? I don't think that's a hot take.
I feel uncomfortable.
Do you want?
I feel uncomfortable.
You know what my hot NBA take was? I put out on our YouTube page and in Discord.
What?
Like, give us your hottest NBA take. My hot NBA take is this is Ja Morant's final year in Memphis.
Ooh. Okay. Wow. What do you think? Like they're going to trade him, or do you think he's going to ask for a trade?
I just think that relationship's going to
Okay.
be frayed, and he'll need a new spot.
Interesting.
I know a lot of people aren't high on Memphis. I'm not either. The Steven Adams deal with him
Sad.
out for the year, Clark not coming back. I think if anything, maybe the end of the year, but I don't think that's even going to be a
Yeah.
possibility.
Smart. What is he going to be like without a Jason Tatum and a Jaylen Brown around him?
Yeah, and he's had health things too.
Uh-huh.
It's just a big loss. And then Ja's missing 25 games. So
And
that's, man,
on that note,
yeah. Mark in the chat. Steve Ballmer looked really pissed after the Clippers' last preseason game. That's funny. Greg in the chat says, my Spurs will be the 8th seed is my hot take. That's a hot take.
it is a hot
You know,
take.
I went back and watched Victor against the Warriors, and man, did he have some moments where you're like, how is this possible? How is he out there making Wiggins and Clay look like little tiny
Majestic.
kids? He's blocking shots on the perimeter, finishing well inside. He does get pushed around a lot. I think rebounding is going to be a major issue for him. But he's also super young.
It's like, that alone. It's like he's super young. He has a super thin frame.
Yeah.
And look, De'Aaron Fox was super thin when he came into the league. And completely different size, obviously, when it comes to height. And there's some people who just always remain super skinny frame. But either way, he'll mature.
Classy Mofo in the chat says, what's your guys' most anticipated matchup this season? I'm looking forward to OKC at Kings. We both have acquired EuroLeague MVPs, young teams with young stars. Crazy matchup. Yeah, I think that's a great one.
I'm excited for OKC.
Your point you made about OKC recently, though, is so true. It's weird how high of expectations people have for them. And I think it's honestly a bit unfair. Like, I think they're going to be pretty good this year.
Yeah.
I still think they're probably a year away from like really taking a big jump.
Chet's a rookie.
Yeah, but SGA is an all NBA player.
But will Chet's impact be a rookie impact? You know what I mean? Like, or will it be something else that's special? Are we putting these expectations on him to already be this special player because he's such a unique unicorn, style when it comes to his game? But at the same time, like, let him get the NBA game going. And SGA, absolutely, like, that is someone who I'm not going to sit here and say can carry a team, but it's because he doesn't need to. He has Josh Giddey. He has Lou Dort. Like, there's other pieces.
Jalen Williams.
I always forget to say Jalen Williams.
Like,
yes.
SGA is going to be playing more off ball this year, too. And I think that takes some pressure off of him. I think they're just going to, they have such a young, exciting core.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that Kings OKC matchup for sure is like one of the, if you're a basketball fan, that's super fun. Kings Warriors for sure, too. That's just exciting. And that we get that on the home opener. We'll be live tomorrow night following Kings Jazz. Morgan it's going to be a late night. We're actually going to start at 10:30 p.m. We have an official time for night chat tomorrow, 10:30 p.m. It's a little later. It's a 6 p.m. start. So you're going, why are you on at 10:30 at night? That's like a 7 o'clock start. Great question. Glad you asked. Happy to answer, actually. Morgan is going to be hosting tomorrow on NBC Sports California, Kings pre and post game. She has to go to San Francisco for that. And instead of having her do night chat from the studio, it's the first one. We have some exciting new partners in the mix,
we'll
too.
Talk about tomorrow.
We'll talk about. She's driving back to Sacramento to make sure to do it in person, which I think will just be a better show, especially for the home opener. Yeah. So 10:30 p.m. Pacific time, live tomorrow night following Kings and Jazz. We will be here to talk about it. And I be locked in with our social media too, because I have a little bit of an exciting announcement tomorrow.
Oh, would you look at that? Yeah. Exciting stuff coming up, huh? Yeah, I love it.
I can tell them now.
Okay, you should tell them now.
So super excited to announce that I'm going to be.
What a dick. What a dick.
Anyway, guys, my last message to close is Morgan's like, I gotta get up early. I'm going to San Francisco.
Well, I gotta put a spray tan on first, and then.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I said this after the preseason, but it's appropriate now. Kings fans, buckle up. There's gonna be highs and there's going to be lows. I don't think this team is a championship team. But you could still enjoy the journey of it all. Last year, we soaked up the wins. I had fog machines. I had lights. I had a light-up jacket. We could still enjoy these moments. We don't have to freak out after every loss. We got to go crazy. Let's just have some perspective and enjoy that we seemingly are in a good moment of Kings basketball for the first time, extended period of time, in a long time.
You could say, like, act like you've been there before. No, that's for players to do. We are not the players. So we don't have to act like we've been there before. And after every single win, the perspective should be, holy shit, it's hard to win in the NBA, so let's celebrate it. That's how we're going to celebrate it. Life's too short to not celebrate every single win. season. So I hope you enjoy this fun ride with us this season. And I will say this. Sleep beams, everyone.
We love you guys, but we gots to go. I'm not sleeping tonight.
Sleep
I'm going to stay live
beams.
until tip-off. Kings and Jet. Okay, but seriously, love you guys. We got to go. See ya.
Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. They tell